Yesterday we didn't use the share, but we'll put it up on the board today. So, so we had Hillel had said that it was in the middle over here. Hillel he said yesterday we said Al tifrosh v'natzibur, do not separate from the community. And the second line he says V'al ta'amin ba'atzmecha ad yom moscha, do not believe or trust in yourself until the day you die. And that's a pretty heavy statement. What does it mean? We know, of course, don't believe in yourself. You think because if you don't have believe in yourself, then you're not going to be successful. You have to have a certain self-confidence, of course. But here, actually, the translation here is trust. Others have it as believe from the word emunah. But I think trust is possibly a little more accurate in the sense that we have a tendency to think that, I'm a whatever I am, and I'm always going to be this way. So that's I trust in myself that I am going to be able to continue the way I am. And that is a big mistake because we do not stay the same. And not only don't we stay the same, we also don't always know how we're going to when we face certain situations. So start with one of the most famous ones that, in terms of an explanation, is brought by the Gemara in Brachos, which is quoted by a number of the commentaries, including Rashi, on this Mishnah, which is don't trust yourself, as we see a famous example from Yochanan the Kohen Gadol. Back in the time of the temple, the Kohen Gadol was a named Yochanan who lived a very long life, and according to the Talmud, he was 80 years, he was the Kohen Gadol. So he is the most important position, most spiritual position for 80 years, and he became a Sadducee. He just became a heretic at the age. Some say it was at the age of 80, but the way the Talmud view seems to be 80 years of being a Kohen Gadol. So he must have been like 95, 100, or who knows how old. And we see that even after all that, you could change. Rabbeinu Yonah takes it a step further in the sense that it's both in terms of faith, but also in terms of your behavior. Somebody might think, oh, I'm a tzaddik, I'm such a good person, right? I haven't done anything wrong in a long time. So it doesn't work that way. But you never overcome your yetzer hara. Your inclination is always working at you to try to get you to do the wrong thing. And while you may think he took a break, maybe took a break to recharge his batteries to get you at another place. And there's always ways that you're going to possibly make a mistake, and you have to be aware of it. And don't think, oh, look, I've been in this situation before, and it didn't bother me, etc. Or I'm with people who are acting in a way that's improper, and it doesn't affect me. It's not true. So another thing he points out is that in terms of how we learn things, we really shouldn't learn things from heretics because we're going to end up getting influenced. If we have a heretic as a teacher, then we could get influenced by them. So again, many people think, it's not going to affect me. I'm able to sift through it. It's not true. The reality is we are affected by it. And there was an exception that the Talmud brings down of Rabbi Meir, whose Rebbe, his teacher, was also a famous heretic. His name was Elisha ben Avuya, who had become, yes, he was a sage, and then he became a heretic. And Rabbi Meir kept his relationship with him, but they say he was an exception because he was able to sift through what was good and what wasn't bad. But your average bear like us, we're not capable of doing that. We're going to end up being influenced in a negative way. Rabbi Lau actually says that when we have conversations with people who are heretics, non-believers, etc., the guy's good example might be, Jews for Jesus or something like that. Don't get into arguments with them because, I'm going to refute them. That's not our job necessarily, unless you're a professional, like somebody who knows what like Rabbi Skobach or something like that, who's a professional. But for us, what are we getting into an argument with them about? The only thing that's more likely to happen is that we may hear something that they say and it could end up affecting us. So he says just avoid the conversation. Another aspect of this as well is that the previous line had been, don't separate yourself from the community. So Irvin Bunin points out that use the community to help you. Don't think you can do all by yourself, that you're going to be able to avoid getting yourself in trouble and avoid doing things you shouldn't be doing. Use the community. The community has a lot of positives. There's a lot of positives that we can use, that the community can help us with, other people can help us with, to stay strong. Good neighbors, right? Good friends who are going to influence you in a positive way. We should make sure that we are interacting with them, and that's going to keep us on the proper path. Another important aspect of this is that a person should not be so confident, even in regular stuff, in financial things that happen to us. Just because something is the way it is now does not mean it's going to be tomorrow, right? We see so many things that happen. The world can change in a day, and we've seen it for sure. And sometimes what happens is we have a tendency to think that whatever we see now, yeah, it's going to be like that. You know, it's going to be good. Or sometimes even by the way, it's a flip side too. Some people think it's always going to be bad, it's never going to turn around when you get depressed, right? It's also not the way to think. The way to think is it could change. But certainly if you think just because the way everything is now is not necessarily going to be the same tomorrow. So you have to work at it to make sure that you're able to maintain whatever it is. So whether it be in your financial situation, your business, etc., you can't just let it go on autopilot. And the same thing applies to your midos, to your character traits. You can't assume just because I'm the type of person who, behaves in a certain manner, I'm a good person, I generally, don't get upset, etc., that's never going to change. There's a very good chance that it is going to change. And again, we have the example from Yochanan Kohen Gadol. We also saw from King Solomon. Also in his later years, there were certain things that happened to him. Rabbi Tversky actually compares the whole thing to an alcoholic, that an alcoholic, right, is never cured. He's always in recovery. That's the concept of an alcoholic. And therefore, one drink, he could lapse anytime if he's not on guard. So too the Yetzer Hara never stops. And person has to always be on guard. It could be, Rabbeinu Bachai says, you may be asleep, but the Yetzer Hara never sleeps, right? So a person, just by saying, I'm not going to do this, that's not enough. You have to actually take actions to keep yourself out of trouble. You have to put yourself in a position where you're going to be interacting with people who are a positive influence, avoiding situations which are going to have a negative influence or even a potential one, because you don't know what is going to happen for yourself. And even though many of us, we have a tendency to think that we won't be affected or influenced, but that is not true. And this Mishnah is telling you, don't trust yourself that just by saying, oh, it's not going to happen to me. We've seen many, many people who it has happened to, who are just like you and me. And if it happened to them, it could happen to us also. And therefore, we do have to be on guard in the sense that we have to consistently encourage ourselves and do things that are going to keep ourselves growing as opposed to stagnating. If you're not moving forward, you don't stand still, you actually move backward. And therefore, we have to consistently find ways that we're going to improve ourselves. And as we said before, surround ourselves with positive people who are going to help us in our goals of trying to become better people, better Jews, and people who are going to make a difference in making the world a positive place.